Top 5 Most Sinful Nuns. What if I told you the holiest habit concealed the most unholy crimes? For centuries, the black veil has been a symbol of pure devotion, a life pledged to God and service. We imagine quiet prayers, gentle care, selfless sacrifice. But behind the cloistered walls of convents and orphanages, a terrifying darkness festered. In this episode, we shatter that sacred illusion. We reveal 5 nuns whose sins weren't mere stumbles, but monstrous betrayals. Their actions, murder, torture, sadism, are so shocking, so grotesquely opposite their calling, you will question everything you thought you knew about the pious life. Born in 1933, Cecile Bombeck, known as Sister Godfreda, served in a 38-bed geriatric ward in veteran Belgium, starting in 1977. Before 1976, she was deemed an upstanding nun, but then everything changed. After undergoing brain surgery, Sister Godfreda became addicted to morphine. Narcotics were available, but expensive. Worse, she had several lovers, a retired missionary and a local teacher, both with expensive tastes she felt compelled to maintain. So, Sister Godfreda turned predator. She began embezzling money directly from her vulnerable elderly patients. She looted their savings. She stole their properties. Police estimate she pilfered around $30,000 in just 1 year. Then, her cruelty escalated into sadism. Witnesses described her repeatedly torturing patients by ripping out their catheters. Fellow nuns grew suspicious. They noticed a horrifying pattern: deaths in her ward. Under Sister Godfreda's care, 21 out of 38 patients died. During investigation and interrogation, Sister Godfreda admitted the unthinkable. She confessed to killing 3 patients by injecting them with a massive overdose of insulin. Insulin treats diabetes, but a huge dose causes coma and death in diabetic patients. Her reason? She coldly stated they were too noisy at night. Once arrested, she was also charged with forging medical prescriptions and drug abuse. While she only admitted to 3 murders, investigators believe the true toll could be as high as 30 victims. In March 1978, a chilling escape from earthly justice, Sister Godfreda was found unfit to stand trial. She was committed to a psychiatric facility instead. Patricia Cahill was just 16 years old, vulnerable and seeking guidance, when she confided in Sister Eileen Shaw, a member of the Sisters of Charity from New Jersey. Cahill revealed a devastating secret. Her now-deceased uncle, a priest, had sexually abused her from age 5 until 13. Seeing Sister Shaw as a trusted mentor, Cahill leaned on her. Shaw cultivated that trust. She gave Cahill attention, invited her to Mass, even encouraged her to play guitar despite her lack of skill. They grew close. Then came the betrayal. Shaw invited Cahill to a Shaw house. There, Shaw slipped something into Cahill's tea, causing her to pass out. This was the first of many assaults. Cahill was abused by Shaw in multiple locations: the Xavier Center at Convent Station, a Sisters of Charity retreat, and even the Glen Rock Convent, where other nuns watched Cahill go upstairs to Shaw's room. Shaw plied the teenager with alcohol and tranquilizers to subdue her. They went on trips with other nuns. Even as an adult, Cahill remained trapped in the toxic relationship. Shaw controlled her life, forbidding her from dating men, discouraging friendships. Isolated and broken, Cahill turned to drugs and alcohol, battling suicidal thoughts. She left her teaching job at St. Cecilia School, where Shaw was principal, in 1975. This pattern of breaking away and being pulled back continued for years before Cahill recognized it as sustained abuse. Finally, in the 1990s, she found the strength. In 1994, Cahill approached a lawyer who contacted the Sisters of Charity. Their response? Sister Shaw was removed immediately, barred from ministry, and forbidden from working with anyone under 21. Cahill received a settlement of $70,000, but the betrayal deepened. A decade later, in 2004, it was discovered Sister Shaw was still working for the Caritas community in Jersey City. Sister Leticia Lopez and Sister Luz Granada lived next door to each other in a nunnery in Bogotá, Colombia's Kennedy district. Sister Granada stood out, striking red hair, blue eyes, unusual for the region. More importantly, she was known for her courageous work with sex workers and their children. In 1999, a horrifying wave of violence hit Bogotá. Dozens of local prostitutes were murdered by vigilante groups claiming social cleansing. Sister Granada became a fierce champion for these victims' rights. Little is known about the exact relationship between the 2 nuns, but one thing is chillingly clear. Sister Lopez despised Granada's work with the prostitutes and their children. Then, in November 1999, a mutilated body was found on a road outside Bogotá. Officers were horrified. The victim's legs had been cut off. She had been shot repeatedly in the head. The body was then burned. It took 5 months and the help of the FBI to identify the remains. Sister Luz Granada, who had been reported missing. Police immediately suspected murder within her own circle, by someone close. Evidence pointed to the convent. Floors had been repainted and scrubbed clean with detergent. A witness reported seeing Sister Lopez washing what she claimed was menstrual blood from Granada's bedding. Sister Leticia Lopez was arrested on suspicion, but released after 17 months due to lack of concrete evidence. Determined, police called the FBI back. Their forensic expertise was damning. Blood spatter patterns were found hidden on the walls of Granada's room. A trail of blood indicated a body had been dragged towards the exit. Crucially, cardboard pieces found in Sister Lopez's room perfectly matched cardboard found with the mutilated body. In 2002, Sister Leticia Lopez was convicted of the brutal murder of her fellow nun. She was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Between 1930 and 1970, St. Joseph's Catholic Orphanage in Burlington, Vermont, run by the Sisters of Providence nuns, was supposed to be a refuge for hundreds of orphaned children. It opened in the mid-19th century and closed in 1974. The truth, however, emerged decades later. In 1993, a man named Joseph Barquin approached lawyer Philip White. Barquin had just gotten married, and his wife was horrified by terrible scars on his genitals. He revealed their source: his childhood at St. Joseph's in the 1950s. He described it as a dark, miserable, and terrifying place. Barquin witnessed a girl thrown downstairs, blood trickling from her nose and ears, signs of severe brain damage. He saw a boy shaken into shock. Children were beaten relentlessly. His own nightmare involved being dragged under the stairs by a nun, forcefully fondled, and then having his genitals cut with something sharp. He remembered blood everywhere. Encouraged by his wife to seek therapy, an apology, and help with costs, Barquin approached 2 priests from the diocese. He got nowhere, so he sued. Barquin and White, though they later parted ways, ignited one of the most prolific and disturbing orphanage abuse cases in U.S. history. Barquin's courage opened the floodgates. Other survivors came forward. Sally Dale had kept her secrets for years. She was forced to eat her own vomit. She vividly remembered seeing a young boy pushed out a window to his death, watching him fall and land right in front of her. She also vaguely recalled a boy being drowned in a lake. The horrors piled up. One girl was paddled severely and had her fingertips burned for stealing candy. Nuns punched children in the face. They placed kids in front of scalding radiators until they burned. Children were held upside down out of windows. They were tied to bare bed frames and beaten. One nun held children underwater or covered babies' faces until they turned blue. The sheer volume of brutality is staggering. 3 years after Barquin filed, many other victims sued. Barquin settled with the church for an undisclosed sum, telling reporters, "Rage and anger are never going to work for the future of these people." While brought to light in the early 90s, the case gained renewed attention in 2018 via a BuzzFeed article. Monsignor John McDermott of the Burlington Diocese acknowledged the abuse, stating, "We cannot alter the past," and claimed the diocese was protecting children now, a stark reality. While other countries launched national inquiries into Catholic orphanages, the United States has not. The Poor Sisters of Nazareth, a Roman Catholic congregation based in London, ran Nazareth houses for over 100 years across the UK, US, South Africa, Australia, and Ireland. These homes took in orphans, abandoned babies, and children deemed uncontrollable or accused of petty crimes. To the outside world, a sanctuary. Inside, a century-spanning nightmare factory. The first public allegations surfaced only in 1998, targeting the Nazareth house in Scotland. Then, like a dam breaking, dozens of former residents from Aberdeen and Glasgow came forward with stories of beatings and sexual abuse by the nuns. The horror wasn't isolated. In Queensland, Australia, an official report detailed brutal torture spanning over 90 years, only ending in 1976. Children were physically and sexually assaulted as routine. Specific nightmares. One girl had her legs burnt with hot pokers, another had ingrown nails ripped out with pliers, another was deliberately scalded with boiling water. Defiant or injured were locked in dark, airless rooms without bedding. And the most damning indictment: police and Australian officials knew about the abuse for decades and did nothing. In Middlesbrough, UK, survivors Vera Wilshire and John Diath described repeated torture. Vera was once beaten so severely she spent 5 weeks in the infirmary. Nuns warned her not to tell her visiting aunt. Others had hair ripped out or heads smashed against walls. Nancy Willoughby, who lived in Nazareth houses in Carlisle and Newcastle, stated beatings were simply normal. They were forced into constant labour. Injuries were ignored. In Aberdeen, reports confirmed children were forced to eat their own vomit, beaten mercilessly for bedwetting, and subjected to both physical and sexual assault. Siblings were cruelly separated.